Why, Harry missed out on saying a final goodbye to his grandmother, the Queen. He's trying to blame William for missing out, but the fact is, actions have consequences, and that was a consequence of him trashing his own family. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the King YouTube channel. As we discussed in previous videos, Omid Scobie is soon going to be releasing a new book about the royal family called Endgame. This is a sequel to his first book, Finding Freedom, which resulted in Meghan being caught out in a lie in court. Now, this time, he's talking a lot about the passing of the Queen. And now, People magazine has published a new article called Beyond Repair. They're talking all about the relationship between Harry and William and why it can never be fixed. Predictably, Endgame is going to be very much in favor of Harry and Meghan, and it's going to do its best to make William look awful. According to Scooby-Doo, now almost a year after the release of Spare, nothing has changed between the brothers. Their relationship is still at rock bottom, and it shows no signs of improving. Scooby-Doo claims that William is not even angry at Harry anymore. At this point, he is indifferent, which is far worse. Now, he's right about that. The opposite of love is not hatred, it certainly is indifference. And at this point, I can't blame William for feeling that way. After Harry has trashed the family time and time again, after he has been so disrespectful towards his brother, his sister-in-law, and the rest of the family, how could William feel any different? How could he have any love left for his brother? According to Scabies in Endgame, in the eyes of some within the institution, Harry is a threat to the crown. His freedom to exert his own thinking outside of the confines of the institution has made him the enemy, which is why, for the brothers, Scobie claims, there's no going back. Well, there's certainly no going back for Harry in terms of going back home to the UK. And as for the relationship between William and Harry, I believe it probably is broken beyond repair. But again, this is not William's fault. This is entirely on Harry. The article in People magazine also focuses on the part of Endgame where Scobie talks about the day the Queen passed away and what happened with Meghan and Harry. I'm going to share with you excerpts and I'm going to summarize the rest. And I hope that none of you go out and spend your hard-earned money on this book, because what Scabies has done with this story is absolutely disgusting, such an insult to the family and especially William. So first of all, he claims that Harry and Meghan had no idea that the Queen was not in good health. I don't believe that for a moment. It was obvious to anybody who had been paying attention that her health was declining. If Harry somehow did not realize that, well, that's his own fault for being an idiot. It's not because his family failed to point out the obvious to him. Maybe if he had been a little bit better about going to visit his grandmother, he would have noticed that. According to Scabies, though, Harry didn't know anything was wrong until all of a sudden he started getting a call from this unknown number. He didn't want to answer it, but Meghan encouraged him to. Oh yeah, right, thanks Meghan. And then it was his father on the phone telling him that he needed to get to Scotland immediately, that Charles and Camilla were already there, and Harry needed to find a way to get there as soon as possible. Reportedly, Harry then sent a text message to his brother William asking if he could travel with William and Catherine. So I guess at that point, Harry was just assuming that Catherine was going to come with William. Of course, she didn't. She stayed home to pick up the kids, and William went on his own. But anyway, he claims that William just completely ignored his text messages. Well, Harry, that's your own fault. Why do you expect us to feel sorry for you for that? According to People magazine, the Sussexes and their team had to operate in the dark. Harry was informed that William had already secured a flight with his uncles Andrew and Edward and Edward's wife Sophie, but he couldn't get in touch with anyone about joining the flight. A source close to the Sussexes said it was upsetting to witness. Harry was completely by himself on this. Well, again, this doesn't make us feel sorry for Harry. In fact, he just makes himself look like an entitled fool. I mean, what did he expect after calling his brother a bully, saying that his stepmother was evil? Why did he expect them to bend over backwards to accommodate him? It's ridiculous. So apparently, Harry just couldn't get it together. He wasted a lot of time, and then he got a call from Charles telling Harry that he had to come alone. Now, previously, Harry had already said that Meghan was going to be coming with him when the time came. And then he heard that Catherine was also not going to be joining, so he agreed that Meghan could stay behind. Again, though, why did he think Meghan had any right to be there whatsoever? How inappropriate would that have been? Meghan and the Queen did not have a close relationship at all. Now, I know Sophie was there, but still, Sophie and the Queen were incredibly close. The Queen hated Meghan. It would have been so cruel to the late Queen to have allowed Meghan to be there as she was passing away. I mean, come on. Supposedly, Harry sent more text messages to his brother, and all of them were ignored, even though William did have some space on his private jet that he was flying on. Well, okay, I know we're supposed to feel a lot of sympathy for Harry here, but we don't. Now, according to a source, William ignored him. He clearly didn't want to see his brother. Princess Eugenie reached out to Harry to see if he had any more information about their grandmother. She had heard from another family member that it was time, but knew little more, according to People magazine. So Harry wasn't being invited by any other family members to travel together. Again, of course not. Why would he expect to be included? So he ended up having to book his own chartered flight. Oh, wah, poor baby Harry. At least he had the money to do so. According to People, Harry started his own race to Scotland. Though rumors of the Queen's passing were rife at this point, Harry had no way of knowing whether it was true. His father doesn't carry a cell phone, and his brother wasn't acknowledging his existence. When William and the others landed at 3:50 p.m. to discover the news that the Queen had passed away at 3:10 p.m., Harry still had no idea what was going on when his own plane finally took off at 5:35 p.m. And as his phone service cut off after takeoff, he remained in the dark for the duration of his 70-minute flight. According to Scabies and Endgame, Meghan and Harry's team tried to get Buckingham Palace to delay the announcement of the news. They wanted to make sure that Harry was informed before the world was. Well, that didn't happen. But again, whose fault is that? And it's not like I don't see how that could have hurt Harry. I'm sure it did. I mean, I think he really did love his grandmother. But he has to understand. You can't just do the things that he and Meghan did. You can't treat family like that and then expect to still be included. According to a close family source, his team literally had to beg for them to wait for his plane to land, and they reluctantly agreed to hold the statement back for a little bit. But there was stormy weather over the airport, so Harry's plane couldn't land immediately. Instead, it had to circle for a little while, and so that meant the news did come out before Harry's plane landed. I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record here, but again, even though that was unfortunate, and maybe in some ways even tragic, Harry cannot blame his family for that. A friend of Harry's claims Harry was crushed. His relationship with the Queen was everything to him. She would have wanted him to know before it went out to the world. They could have waited just a little longer. It would have been nothing in the grand scheme of things, but no one respected that at all, end quote. It's interesting to me that this source used the term respect. How does Harry have any right to demand respect from his family after the way he has treated them? After everything Harry and Meghan did, I think he should count himself lucky that he was included at all. I'm sure he did love his grandmother, but why did he think it was okay to make her final months an absolute misery thanks to all his truth-telling? The Queen loved her family, and Harry caused her so much stress at the end of her life with all his lies. When Harry finally made it to Balmoral, he was greeted by his aunt, Princess Anne, and he was shown to the room where he was able to pay his final respects. And then apparently he went around looking for his father and the rest of the family, but they were nowhere to be seen. According to People, William, Camilla, and Charles had already left for Birkhall together. Again, no invite was extended to Harry. Reportedly, Harry figured there was no point in sticking around, so that night he ate, he went to bed, and then the next morning he booked the first flight out. Reportedly, he sent some more messages in the meantime to his brother Prince William, and all of them were ignored. After the funeral, of course, the relationship between the brothers only got worse. One source reports that William is convinced that Harry has been brainwashed by an army of therapists, and at this point, William no longer even recognizes his own brother. A source close to William says there's a huge amount of anger there. He feels betrayed and sad about the situation, but he also doesn't agree with the things his brother feels he has done. He feels he has lost Harry and doesn't want to know this version of him. But according to a Spencer family source, that version is just Harry being a man who has stepped outside of the institution and sees things in a different light. They will never see eye to eye at this point. They're on completely opposite sides. That won't change. William is completely right. Harry has been brainwashed. Is it by an army of therapists, or is it by the narcissist he married, Meghan Markle? Well, who knows, maybe some of both. But I think most people who knew Harry when he was growing up would say the same as William, that they don't recognize the person Harry has become. I mean, we say the same thing, and we never even knew Harry personally. It's clear to see that something fundamental about who Harry is as a person has changed. He used to be so happy, he used to take care of himself. And now when we see him, he looks miserable and disheveled. And as for what this Spencer family source said, that Harry is a man who stepped outside of the institution and sees things in a different light, well, I mean, that would be fine if that's all it were, but that's not it. Harry not only sees things in a different light, but he is convinced that his family is evil and that his family never treated him well. He makes up all these hateful lies about them and then tells them to the whole world. To me, that's a lot different than just seeing things in a different light. People concludes the article with another quote from a source. Though he hasn't found closure with his family, he's accepted that things are unlikely to change, particularly with his brother, who refuses to even properly talk with him. Reportedly, Harry also told a friend, "I'm ready to move on past it. Whether we get an apology or accountability, who knows? Who really cares at this point?" And isn't that rich, that after all that, Harry is still expecting an apology from his family? The thing that gets me in all this is just how tragic and unnecessary this whole mess is. Harry didn't have to do the things that Meghan convinced him to do. He could have left with dignity. He could have gone on to live a private life like he claimed he wanted. He didn't have to throw his family under the bus, to claim that his family was racist, to claim that his family always treated him as second best, that they were so cruel to Meghan and him, that they didn't like Meghan because of the color of her skin, and also that his older brother was a vicious bully who assaulted him. Harry didn't have to say any of that. He chose to. And guess what? When you choose to do things like that, you do have to suffer the repercussions, and that's exactly what happened the day the Queen passed away. Now, is it sad that Harry didn't get to be there to say goodbye to his grandmother one last time? Yes, it is sad. But at the same time, if he wants to find somebody to blame, he needs to look in the mirror. And you, what do you think of this story? Please let me know your opinion below in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and share it with anybody else who would appreciate it too. And don't be afraid to click the subscribe button to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you all tomorrow.